Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Martine Emmons is a transformational life coach who broke free from childhood abuse, sexual trauma, and overcame cancer to become a powerful force of healing and hope for others. Martine describes traumatic events as fierce emotional tsunamis. They can leave impending doom and destructive tidal waves of emotions that hit you when you least expect it. Martine helps her clients dive into the depths of their trauma and pain as she stands fiercely advocating for them to shine a light on those experiences and find the lesson in the pain. She serves as a beacon of hope that guides you to see the strength, lessons, and purpose that can be born from the pain. You can feel alive with purpose again when you awaken your dormant strength, step into your power with a sense of peace, and discover a new wave of hope with the right tools and support. Martine and her guests are here shining their lights today through empowering stories of hardship and transformation to inspire you to find hope and to see that there is a beautiful blue ocean of serenity, happiness, and fulfillment in your future. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome everyone to the best day of the week. It's Friday, 1 p.m. over here in Michigan and 10 a.m. for my guest, Jonathan. And it's just a good day. It's a good day to share stories of overcoming, of transformation, of hope. And even though we have sad stories and we go through very hard times, there is hope. And my guest is today part of that. He is like me. He's part of a club that he had no desire to be a part of. And emotional. We're part of the same club. We've both lost a sibling. I've in fact lost two. It's a very hard place to be. My daughter asked what my show was about today, and I told her that a friend of mine, he lost his brother, and she's like, I cannot imagine losing either of my siblings. I can't imagine it. So yeah. So without further ado, welcome Jonathan DeYoe. I am so happy to have you here.
Martine, I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad you're holding a space for this kind of conversation.
Thank you. It's so necessary. And like I started off, this is a club we don't want to be a part of, and there are so many of these clubs. Like, I had a miscarriage. That's not a club I want to be a part of either. And there's a lot of these different things that we go through that we just thought, oh wow, I really could have done without experiencing that. So please tell us about your brother and your story.
Yeah. So, I mean, my parents actually moved to the Midwest, so we'd have a very tight-knit family. So we grew up in Rapid City, South Dakota. He was 3 years younger than I was, you know. I gave him my old driver's license, so he had a fake ID in college. Right? We were best friends for our entire lives. And there were moments, you know, I went off to college and he stayed back and he was still in high school. So we didn't connect through that period of time. But as we grew older, we had kids at roughly the same time. We got married at roughly the same time. Our kids were the same ages. You know, I moved out to the Bay Area. He moved out to the Bay Area. We spent a lot of time together. You know, all of our holidays were together. We started a business together. We, you know, in the pandemic, all of our social circles dwindled, and mine dwindled basically to my immediate family and him. And then at the end of the pandemic, he drowned. And it brought a lot of well, obviously there's tears and pain and difficulty and all those kinds of things, right? But it also, there's a lot of things that we had planned and that we were just coming up on the cusp of being able to put together and make happen. And that now I'm trying to make happen without him, but it's, you know, it's nearly impossible. I'm still, you know, it's an uphill battle, but I'm fighting it.
Yeah, of course. It takes long, and we shouldn't put any limit on any of this. There is no time limit on grief.
Nope.
And it's okay no matter how long it takes any of us. you know. Yeah. But, in our talk before, you were talking about, well, you had this business together, you're starting this business together, and he does all the social media and all these amazing parts of it. Um, what, what I mean is, my brother did certain things in search and rescue, and my sister did a lot of cooking. So they wanted to do these certain things for people. So I'm trying to do things in my own way. What about your way for like carrying on his legacy?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, the thing, so we both worked in different elements of money, finance. So I'm a financial planner. I have been for 25 years. I work with clients and work with clients investing money. And my brother worked like on a much, 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 much larger scale in terms of numbers of people, but with people that didn't have as much. He worked with the unbanked. So he worked with debit card things, and he worked with, creating opportunities for people that didn't really have access to the banking institutions. And, itinerant labor, just people that weren't well off. And so in 2006, we actually came together and we formed a company. We registered with the state of California. And our idea was to create, and my goal was to create something that was educational, that could bring financial literacy and financial education to a much broader subset of people. Because I can work one-on-one with people, and that's really easy, and I can work with their families, but that doesn't scale. So he knows how to take that message and scale it. He understands technology. He understands, how to use social media, how to get into a larger audience. And that was his expertise. That's what he did for 4 different companies in his career. And so he was wicked smart in that space. He was actually the smartest person in any space that I've ever met in my life. He was the smartest person ever. And 2006, we started the company. By 2008, we had our first kid in 2004. And so by 2007, we both had our second kid, and we don't have time. We can't do this now. We have to raise families. We got young kids. We're going to do that. So we mothballed it. We closed the company, and we said, we'll come back to this later. We kept talking. And in the ensuing 10 years or so, you saw things like Khan Academy. You saw things like these video education things started being born, and you could build courses, and you could build, so that all of this technology enabled a better user experience, more in-depth education program. And then you saw things like Prosper. You saw things that were lending programs and investing programs for people that didn't meet Wall Street minimums, right? Almost all of those were funded by venture capital. And so we started thinking about, okay, what does that mean? Well, that means it's still very, 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 very profit motivated. And so it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it doesn't necessarily have the end users, in their heart, right? It's not a heartfelt business. It's a money business. No problem with money businesses, but we wanted to do something like build a nonprofit or a co-op to do roughly the same thing. And so his last options package was for his last company we were waiting for that, and it vested in March of 2021. And so we knew January of 2022, he was going to come on board. He was going to take over this piece. He was going to be my COO, CEO. He was going to do all kinds of great stuff. And in June, 2 months later, he drowned. And so we never got the chance to move him in the office. We never got the chance to do the stuff that we were going to do. So by the end of the year, I had merged, knowing I didn't want to run the firm. I didn't want to hire and fire. I didn't want to, handle HR issues. I didn't want to do all the trading. I didn't want to do all the marketing. I didn't want to do all this stuff. I wanted to work with people. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted a message. I want to write. I wanted a podcast. I want to work with people and educate people. And so I knew I couldn't do this. My capacity is it's less than it was. Before Dave died, I was one of those really driven people. I got up every morning at 4:30 and I worked out and I meditated and I wrote and I read every single day for 20 something years. And I had great routines, all those sorts of things. And Dave died and it all fell apart. It all fell apart for a number of months. And it's coming back together, but it's certainly not together. And my memory's not the same. My ability's not the same. So there's no way I could actually have pulled off running the company solo for, a year, 18 months after. So I found a partner and merged my firm into a larger firm at the end of December of 2021, and just committed to building more financial education program. And I launched 2 podcasts in the last year, one to talk about wealth and society, one to talk about just individual decision-making points. What are some of the choices we have? What are some of the better choices we can make? Interviewing people, but also just kind of making presentations and talking into a mic and just talking to people. Because I still have the same, in my heart, I still have the same goal. I want to have an impact on people and give people access that don't have access to good quality financial advice and don't have education necessarily, don't really know what to do. And so they're basically prey to product pushers, people that, hey, insurance will solve all your problems, or, hey, invest in this thing, it'll solve all your problems, right? It's just so many people, suffer from commission-based salespeople in the financial world that it's unfortunate, and they don't know where to turn. So I'm hoping to create a place where they can turn.
I think that's beautiful. And it just, you talking about that and people taking advantage of all these different like programs and someone thinking, okay, well, maybe I waited too long to invest, and they get kind of overwhelmed and afraid. So they might do something that's going to set them further back. My father is somebody who it's always in the best interest of himself, is trying to find a way to just better his health, better his life. And he almost will like any magic pill. And I know a lot of people would do that in any part of our world, whether it's health, whether it's finance, whether it's anything. There are people to take advantage of somebody who is just trying to make themselves better.
Yep. Yeah. I had this conversation with somebody like 2 days ago where, if you go online, you can find there's thousands of people that will sell you a $5,000 course on how to do a thing. Right. Yeah. And I say that I have a course that I'm willing to sell, right? That's there, and hopefully it's valuable. Right. Most of our courses we give away. Like if there's a group of young adults, I can't give it away one-on-one, but I give it away in mass, because I know people, if people are doing it together, they hold each other accountable and they will finish the program. Right. Right. So if there's a group of young adults, there's a group of college students, high school, junior, senior high school students, we've got programs and we just give them away for free. And there's so many people in the Bay Area have gone through those programs and just said, hey, they're fantastic. And it's great. So whatever I can do to just spread those out even further, that's what I'm excited for. The thing I lose when I lose Dave is I lose the reach. I lose the understanding of how technology can make it, can affect more lives and can reach people further. And that's, so now it's just a slower build. It's a slower thing now.
Right. There can be more reach through platforms like this, through your own podcast, that people, it's amazing how the right people come in your life when they're supposed to. I had a crazy incident when I won't go into yesterday, and all the things that have happened since then, just yesterday. It's a crazy thing where just one person, you can meet someone who connects you to someone else, and there you go. So who knows what's happening there right now? Yeah. It's just what you're talking about right now.
Because I know we're going to
yes. We need to take a break in a moment, but this reminds me of a colleague when she was in not high school. She just got out of high school and she was touring the campuses for college. And she said there were so many, and she's younger than I am, but only by maybe 10, 15 years. And she said, and it's changed even more now, right? Like our kids, when they go to college or whatever, that there are people that just want to just give you out credit cards. Just here, take this. And you don't really know at that age so much, unless you had some kind of course. That's not free money.
Right.
And so many kids think it is.
Yep. And that's the average debt, and graduation is like $3,500. Credit card debt, not student loan debt, credit card debt.
Right. Yeah. Just because they thought, oh, wow, this is great. I can get these things and I don't have the money to pay it back.
Yep.
It's
It's a hard lesson at the beginning.
Yes. So this would be very, some kind of something to have for young people, especially, and then for everybody going on up, because we all need help at every stage of our life to try to build and grow and all that. So we are going to take a break, but we will be right back, everyone, with more transformation and money talk today. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Jonathan DeYoe, and we have been talking about transformation and money transformation, and finding a way to have a better life overall. So, Jonathan, you started this business really with your brother, and then unfortunately he passed away. I know how hard it is. I'm looking for the right words here. What have you learned? What has come into your life? Like, I know it's hard to find the blessings, especially in the earlier times, but what have you learned in your journey, even with your wife, with your children, and just life?
So maybe, I don't know if this is a masculine thing, but I see this in my dad still. So my dad is 81, and he doesn't. I don't think I saw him shed a tear. And that's not a judgment. I mean, I'm not judging him. But I think he's gone in kind of into a depression, and I think I'm just enough younger to have spent a little bit more time sort of introspectively thinking about things before Dave died. So I tried the first 2 or 3 weeks. I tried to just bear the burden and not lean on anybody. And what I learned is that if you ask for help will be there, but you have to ask for help. I was surprised at how bad people are at consoling me or consoling people. Yeah. I was surprised at how, the friends that you thought would be there are less there than you would expect, right? And then there's a couple people that I didn't expect that just showed up and were incredible. I tell this story constantly because it was so meaningful to me. And there's this woman, she's a client. She's just a lovely person. She's probably my favorite person in the world now. So Dave dies. She finds out. She doesn't try to use words. She sends me a text, and in the text is a photo of a heart. And then the next day, she sends me another text with a photo of a different heart. And the next day, another heart. And the next day, another heart. She does this for months. We are 16 months past Dave's death. I got one yesterday. She has never slowed down.
Oh, I love it.
And so there was so much oomph in that. There was just so much in that. Care, we're here if you need us. I could text back. I could not text back. I could call her and chat, or I could not. And there was no pressure. There was no expectation. Just, hey, I'm thinking of you. And it was just beautiful. So a couple learnings. One, you don't know who's going to be your best friend. You don't know who's going to be there for you ever. Yeah. You really don't know. And the big one is you have to be able to ask for help if you need it. And when you ask, people want to help. People do want to help, but they don't know how to help. They don't know. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And it's just very, it's very tough. So I spent those first 3 weeks trying to do it myself and trying to bear the burden. And I finally just I went up to my wife and my kids, and, and I would go down to my office. My office is downstairs in our house. And I would go down to the office and I would just cry alone for hours. Right.
Yeah.
And finally I was like, okay, obviously this is not healthy. I can't do this. I'm not moving forward. I'm not healing. There's nothing good coming out of this. So she would say, hey, just come check on me from time to time. And, for a while they did that. They came downstairs and they checked on me from time to time. Yeah. But you also can't just rely on those people that are closest to you, living with you every day, because you do become, I did become, I think, a little bit of a burden on them for a bit, and they're fine with it. I'm not, they want to be helpful and all that, but I also don't want to always be a drag, right? That's not good in any relationship. So your friends are really important too, more people. And so what I did is I just said, you know what, and that's why we're on this call. Like I've been on many podcasts just talking about it, telling stories about Dave, telling stories about what we were doing, telling stories about what we're trying to do, telling stories about our kids, telling stories about, the last time I saw him. So this is pandemic for 2 years. We'd show up together at the field and we kick the ball back and forth, but we keep our distances.
Yeah.
We'd sit down together and we'd wear our masks, and sit 5-6 feet apart and talk. And the last time I saw him was the first time in 2 years that I was like, hey, can we do a hug? And he was like, yeah, let's do a hug. So we did a hug. Told him I loved him.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you had that.
And beyond that, it's just knowing that you're supported, knowing that there's people there that will help you, and not being shy about it and just being open about it. Be vulnerable. I mean, I'm closer to people today because I was vulnerable, because I do this and because I carry it this way. And I've been very public about it. I've shared about it, and people that I don't even know have emailed and texted and said, hey, you gave me permission to be vulnerable about it, that kind of thing. So we're all looking for that, I think. And the more of us that embrace that, the more it frees other people to be vulnerable.
Absolutely. Shows people they're not alone.
Yeah.
That is it right there. Gosh. And you know what you were saying too, it's like people do want to help and they don't know what to do. And I remember that same with my siblings and my mom, and, people that you wouldn't expect to be there come out of the woodwork, as my mother used to say. They're just there, whether it was bringing meals, whether it was just checking on you by dropping off something or calling, or whatever it was, just something. That blew me away in a lot of instances. People I just didn't think, but then there were people that I thought would be there for sure and were not.
Yeah.
And I didn't fault them though, because it's like they just didn't know what to do, and I knew it. I knew their personalities. It just wasn't there. And
really, we don't know. I had this experience this morning. I mentioned we're going to visit on the 18th month anniversary of Dave's death. We're going to go to the beach where he drowned, and one of my friends are putting this together, and I just was like, I had this moment of this feeling of, I don't know what I need out of this. I don't know if this is a silent meditation kind of a thing, or if it's a ceremonial thing, or if it's, let's, bury the hatchet kind of a thing. Like let's go down and have music, celebratory kind of a thing. I don't know what it is. And like I texted that. I said that to them in the group text. I said, hey, I don't know what I need out of this. And they're like, we'll be ready for all things. Don't worry about it. We've got you. Don't worry about it. And it was, you find those people that will come around you, and they will work with you in your not knowing what you need. Because I don't know. This is the first real loss I've ever had, which is, I have 50 years of really, really incredibly blessed life. So I've got no practice. Like, I don't know how to deal with this.
Right.
No one does. And so having people just hold the space with you and say, yeah, we'll figure it out. We don't have to have all the answers today. We'll figure it out, and we'll do it together, and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I remember with my sister, we had just a very small Catholic thing. And I'm not really sure why we did that. It's what my dad wanted. My sister and brother and I were raised Catholic, but we never followed it. It didn't resonate with any of us. And we just kind of, went along with it. As we were kids, we had no choice. But then as adults, my dad wanted to do this because he thought it would be like honor my mom for my sister. And well, when we did it, the energy in the room felt okay. It seemed to be okay thing to do. But my sister-in-law took charge of it, as she should, and it was a wake. It was just everybody celebrating his life. It was amazing. The photography of him being on the mountain, and like beautiful pictures of him just like in his glory on the mountain. And one of his friends is a sculptor and made like a mini sculpt of him. And I can't remember what mountain they took it, somewhere in Tahoe. Just left my mind. But they actually hiked a huge, about two months after he passed away, hiked and put the statue of him so he could like always be up there forever. And that seemed to feel really good for him. So it's interesting, probably as you go on, just interesting things of getting together with friends or whatever, of ways that you actually can celebrate him and honor him. Yeah. So
you're giving me an idea. I didn't think about this till now. He's right behind me. I don't know if you can see the little blue right here. That's
yeah.
And I've been thinking about how do we distribute ashes, or what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to the beach. That's the perfect time, right? I haven't thought about it. So I have to talk to his wife about that, obviously. But
that's nice.
We'll see. Thank you for the idea.
Oh, absolutely. It's Trinity. That's what I was thinking of. I don't know if you've been there. Lake Tahoe area. Trinity. Yeah.
Near the Alps?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was his favorite place. And they used to go. Yeah. My brother's had like amazing friends since just a very young age, all the way on up, and that was something hiking that they used to do. They do boys trips, fishing trips, and they'd also get together couples and all that too. And now his son is big into it and everything. So it's just amazing, even what his children probably will do and how to honor him. And all four of your kids together will do things that will honor him and his, for his unique personality and ways and all that. Yeah.
We're all sort of on a different track in terms of recovery. So the kid, they're, his boys, I love them dearly, and I worry a lot because I don't know how to help. I lost a brother, but they lost a dad. Like that's
right.
That's a different thing, and it's going to affect them way more. Not in terms of pain, but it's just their lives are going to be totally upside down because of it. They're 14 and 17, so that's that one I don't like at all.
Right, I hear you. Jacob was 11 when my brother died, and I don't know if this is helpful at all, but all his friends came in, and they take him hiking, they take him fishing. All of them, including my sister-in-law's sister's husband, also takes him places, and they've gone to Disneyland and all that. So maybe you and some of the friends.
Oh yeah. We're doing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll be okay.
Yeah. I know that they will be. They have to go through it on their path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we are going to take a break, and we will come back and talk more good stuff. Who knows where it'll go, right? Welcome back, everyone, to the place where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Jonathan DeYoe, and we've been talking about everything: grief, loss, and the topics that we should talk about more. And as Jonathan and I were just talking about a moment ago on the break, that these topics of grief, loss, trauma, the adversity that we go through in life as humans, and these things that we go through that make us more resilient should be talked about more, because then we can get through things better if we understand each other better, and we can be there for each other. Because just like we talked about before, a lot of people that have been through the things that we have, people don't know what to do. They don't know how to be there for you. And we have to talk about it so that it's just as normal as any other conversation, So for this next segment, Jonathan, tell me something funny about your brother. Tell us some funny moments as brothers.
So the Eli, that's my son. Dave's, I guess it's not really claim to fame, but he didn't really appreciate deadlines or time at all. Like he was late to everything. He was late to, like, we played soccer together, and we'd show up at the field. If the game started at 7 p.m., he'd be there putting his shoes on at 7:02. Like everyone else will have warmed up, been there an hour. He shows up just after it starts and launches into it. Yeah. He was late to his wedding reception. He was, always late. Drove my wife absolutely crazy. We learned basically to say, Dave, the movie starts at 6:30. That way he could be there by 7. You would know that he'd be there on time.
Yeah.
He's also the kind of guy. He was experimental, and he has kids that are curious, right? We all have kids that are curious.
Yeah. One
of his kids came home. I know it wasn't one of his kids. It was one of the families that they're close to has a kid that was like, "Hey, what would it take to like make our own currency?" And the guy, Dave was like, "Hey, let's melt some metal. Let's build a mold. Let's do this. Let's figure it out." He got a torch. He melted like a copper pipe and melted it into a mold. And he was like, "Yeah, we could." He would build stuff. He would just run experiments. He would do things with kids. He's just a good guy. He's just a really good guy. Kids that had autism or kids that were struggling would always just love him, and he would just engage with them in a way that it was impressive. Patience, calm demeanor. Always had some kind of a snide little comment, little dig for his older brother, this little thing.
Of course.
And I played the straight man. I played the straight man in my household too. So I'm not the funny guy. I'm the straight man. So they would always make fun of me, and it was fine. Like it was all good. He would have my son and my wife and my daughter and everyone just cracking up. And he could lighten anything. He could, make anything fun. Also, he made a mean tri-tip, like on a grill. Yeah, he did a good grilled tri-tip as well. It's just, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Holding space for you, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. He sounded like a wonderful, wonderful man.
Yeah.
A wonderful person to be around. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. He was amazing.
What a privilege to have him as a brother and in your life for the time that you had.
Yeah. There's a group of friends that we had in common for 20 something years. And we were having a session, we sort of became a men's group after Dave died, and they sort of rallied around me to just have conversations. And we had this session where we talked about siblings, and two of them have brothers, and neither one of their relationships, and they both said, "Hey, we really were jealous of the relationship you had with Dave, because we were close. We were really, really close. We weren't. I think there's time in our high school years where we were competitive, but we got past that and we started playing on the same team together, and we were competitive and dominant in soccer because we were both 6'5" and we we're both athletic and we're both very competitive. But it didn't seem like we competed with each other. Like we really just loved on each other and just wanted to support and help. When I had a big question, I would say, "Hey, Dave, what do you think about this?" And he was going through it with one of his kids at one point, and he would say, "Jonathan, what do you think about this?" And we talk stuff out, and they didn't. My buddies didn't have this relationship. Their brothers picked on them, or their brothers were mean to them, or their brothers were distant, or just didn't participate in the family life in the same way. And so they said, "Jonathan, you had the absolute best possible relationship with your brother.
Mm-hmm.
And what a privilege.
Yes.
And that was the first moment I was like, I mean, I knew I had a great relationship with my brother, but I didn't know that was something that people would, I didn't think that was amazing. Like, I didn't think that was different than the norm. And I still don't know if it's different than the norm, but it's different from anyone else I've heard of. Like, I don't know anyone that has the same kind of relationship. And it's just good to keep in mind, like, what can you bring some gratitude, what can you be grateful for? And the more we focus on that, the less we focus on the bad pieces, I think the better off we are.
Oh, absolutely. Did you guys, even as little boys, did you pick on each other then, or, oh, my little brother, or?
No, I mean, so I grew up 2211 Lance Street, Rapid City, South Dakota, and we would go out in the backyard, and most of the friends in the neighborhood were Dave's age. So when all the kids in the neighborhood got together to play soccer, to play baseball or whatever in the park or something, most of the kids there were Dave's age. Cam and everyone there were his peer group. There's a few kids that were my age, but more were his age. And we just got along, he would, we would walk to and from school, and he didn't call me Jonathan. He called me brother. This is when he's really little. So when he's in first grade, and we would walk to and from school, uphill both ways in 6 feet of snow.
Of course.
Right. In South Dakota.
Yes.
And he would say, brother, slow down, brother, wait up, brother, slow down, brother, slow down. And, we wouldn't slow down, and he would catch up, and I would just stay just far enough ahead of him. And he'd be reading a book while he walked. And then, we were, I'm sure we had our moments of wrestling and fighting and stuff. And I Christmas morning, I woke up early and ate all the chocolates out of his stocking. I did that. Then the next year he would do it to me, get up a little early.
Of course.
Right. So those kinds of things, but
yeah,
I don't remember ever feeling like I was really in a competition for parental love or for anything like that with them. We just were really close. We were really close.
That's beautiful. I know that relationships are all different, because we're all so different as humans. I mean, even from little ones on, I'm reading a book right now called The Body Keeps Score. Very amazing book. But it just talks about just the different parts of our brain and how, nurtured in the beginning to how our personalities and everything else develops. And I know all three of my kids, I mean, they love each other dearly. They don't share a lot of the same views, but they love each other dearly, and they would be there for each other no matter what. My girls are closer, my son not as much, but they'd always be there, And even with my own siblings, my sister and I were probably closer, but Stephen and I were more alike in our personalities. So it's kind of interesting how we'd be there for each other in different circumstances, So yeah, it's an interesting thing. What would you say to somebody? For example, me, I spent a lot of time when I would get together with my brother and his wife and my husband, whatever. The boys would go off together, the girls would go off together, and we always had fun. But I'm like, why didn't I spend more time with my brother? I wish we would have went off. I really wish we would have done more of that. And I kept telling him, we need to spend more time together. And I intended to, and then I lost him. Yeah. What would you, so I would say, spend more time. You get that inclination, do it. What would you say?
Oh, I think totally. I mean, don't let life get in the way of relationships. I mean, I think that the thing that losing Dave, the whole process of being close to Dave to begin with. And, as you have kids, friends fall away. Some friends don't have kids. Some friends move away. And so your tight circle, when you have a family, your tight circle diminishes a little bit. You had 7 close friends. Now you have 5 close friends.
Yeah.
And so the process of going from, I was the chairman of the board of the Berkeley Chamber of Commerce. I was a man about town. Like I ran things. I was on lots of boards. I was very active, lots of friends, lots of activities, stuff. had a kid, had another kid, and nothing against, having kids. I chose to actually spend time with them, and I love spending time with my kids today as well.
Yeah.
But the social circle shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. Then we have a pandemic, and it shrinks even further. And then we did get together through the pandemic, and I do value all that time. And I wish we would have done more, for sure. But there are other relationships. There are friend relationships that I haven't done the best job of keeping up with. And when I'm 75, 25 years into the future, if I don't get better at that, I will suffer. And I know that. So one of the things, losing Dave and having basically my social circles implode, like he was like the last real close, tight, wonderful friend that I had. Lots of acquaintances, lots of other friends, right? But no one that I had really committed time in the same way with. And so whether it's brothers and sisters, or whether it's just really close friends from high school or college, or from the last board you're on, or for the last group of people you engage with, you've got to build those relationships. You have to spend the time. You have to invest in the relationships. That is, relationships and health. Those are the two things that are going to make you happier when you're older. And I'm far along in the process of rebuilding friendships now, which I'm very happy about. That's one thing that, after I recognized I couldn't do it myself, and after I recognized I need to have friends again, I started building those things up, and now I have them. And we're planning things together, and it's awesome. And a lot of them, there's a few people that I didn't expect that came out of the woodwork, and now we're really close. And I do have some close friends now, which is quite wonderful. That I didn't have 20 months ago. Right.
That's that our friendships and our lives, like you said, having health and people in our lives going forward, it's everything. Yeah, it's everything.
And we let money and life and busyness get in the way of that. And that's I think that's our number one mistake, is chasing money and not investing in friends, not investing in the relationships. That's nothing is more important than that.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I fully understand. We're going to take a brief break, and then we'll come back with some final thoughts. Welcome back, everyone, to the place where we conquer everything, compromise nothing. My guest today, Jonathan DeYoe. We've been talking about loss and making the most of our lives and connecting with people and just building connections, especially as we go later on into life. So Jonathan, how are you carrying on the business and bringing your brother with you, so to speak, in your financial life, in your business?
Yeah. Well, so the goal was to create some kind of a nonprofit or a co-op or something that provided education. And so we grew up kind of poor. And so we wanted to reach out and help people that didn't have access. Right. And so what I've done is I built the education platform. Like I do have courses available, and I do have like a coaching program available, and those kinds of things. And really it's very low cost stuff. The point is to keep it really low cost so people have access. But at the same time, what I've done is I partnered with two different groups, ESO Ventures in Oakland, California, and Reparation Generation, because sort of the stated mission is bridging the wealth gap. And so 100% of our profits go to supporting Black and Brown owned businesses and supporting asset building for Black and Brown families. And so, we cover our costs. The merger of my firm with the larger firm enables me to not really need money from this thing. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to give it all back. And so 100% of profits go to these things. So we're providing education, providing coaching. And if somebody has a small youth group, church youth group, a student union youth group, college youth group, or young adults, chamber of commerce, Rotary clubs, that has an interest in, or that have an interest in financial education, please let me know, ping me, and we can actually get that out there. And that is, I think, the thing that I'm meeting with actually an HR professional today on how to get the courses for free in companies as well. And so I'm just exploring all kinds of ways, because I think that the one thing we do poorly that creates all the stress in our financial lives is we don't educate anyone about finance. And I think that there are some very basic things that people can learn. It's not, this isn't how to pick stocks. It's not how to, be an aggressive investor or anything like that. It's just how do you open a bank account? How do you budget? How do you check your credit profile? How do you pay off debt? So it's the very, very, very basic infrastructure for financial education. And I want to provide it as broadly as I can. So if anyone in the audience has a group that wants to take a course or have access to a course that they can share with your group and go through it together, just let me know. I'm happy to provide access.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I think it should be in all the high schools.
Oh, of course.
I mean, your program should be in there.
Yeah. It's interesting because there are high schools that teach it. And this is actually one thing that I hate. My son brought this home to me the other day. He's in an econ class, and in his econ class, which is great. I think everyone should study econ. It's not really personal finance, but they're doing a personal finance thing. They're doing a stock competition. Like, what we're training our youth to do is pick stocks rather than, how to maintain a checkbook, or not a checkbook, but a bank account, right? We're teaching them how to pick a stock, and that's, no one has any advantage in that. That is 100% luck driven. It is not something that people can be brilliant at. Like, there's tons of research on this. And yet this is how we introduce high school students to it, is through some sort of stock management program or stock management contest, which is just dumb. So I have to basically undergird all his stock selection stuff with my own education program, which is fine. But yeah, I think that's, anytime we can share actual education, we should do so.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just like the whole thing, in the beginning when I was talking about, all these credit cards people throw at it, and if somebody doesn't understand that they have to pay it back.
Yep.
And like you said, just to have it's like we don't really balance our checkbook so much anymore, but still just knowing, keep checking your account every day, seeing where you're at and making sure nobody's hacked you. That's another thing. And just to be able to know, well, how much is coming in and how much is going out and how much are my bills? And like you said, debt management, all that stuff is so important.
Yeah, we do this. We have this. I've been writing a lot about this in the last couple of weeks. I do a weekly commentary. Anyone can subscribe to it on the Mindful Money website, and it's free. But I've talked a lot about things like, what are the appropriate ages to have your first bank account? What's the appropriate age to have your first debit account? What's the appropriate age to have your first credit card? And then how do parents interact with that with their kids? How do we, when is it the right time to have a joint account? When you go to college, does it make sense to have a joint account? As adults get older, like when I'm in my 80s, should my son or daughter be on a joint account with me to watch what I'm doing? Because then that's where I'm subject to making mistakes and my cognitive decline. We all have, when we're older, we all suffer from cognitive decline, and it makes sense to have the family sort of look over your shoulder.
Right.
At the same time, we're suffering cognitive decline, though, we're also defensive. We don't want to share it. Like we want to, why do you want information about my finances to the kids? Right. So it's, we're in this together. Yeah. And working on it together from a young age and continuing to do that through our lives is probably a good thing. It shouldn't be just like grief. It's sort of a verboten topic. Right. Money should be something we talk about, and we talk about it in the family. We talk about it, our goals and our dreams and our hopes. And then we talk about how to, right? That's how do we make this normal part of the conversation, just like we should make grief a normal part of the conversation, because we all got to deal with it. We all got to deal with both of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all out there, but where can the people find you to find your programs and just to reach you overall?
Yeah. All the social media links and everything is on mindful.money. That's mindful.money. Just no .com, no www, just mindful.money. And it's all there.
That's easy to remember. Mindful.money.
Should be.
Because we should be mindful with our
That's
money.
right.
Yes. So what's one final little bit of piece of advice that you want to share with the audience today? Just a couple of seconds.
Yes. Stop predicting, start planning, and stay mindful.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Excellent advice. Thank you so much for coming on today, Jonathan. I so appreciate you sharing, and we're brothers and sisters in this. And if you ever need anyone, reach out. And I do mean that. I'm not saying that for the show here. And I hope you'll keep in touch, and what you're doing is a wonderful thing. And I wish you all absolute best. And thank you.
Thank you, Martine. I appreciate it. And same goes. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. And may this show be a blessing to you. And please share it with anyone you think that could benefit. There's so much loss out there, and people need to know that there are others out there that are the same as them, and that they can connect with. All of us sending you our love, and we'll see you next Friday.
Thank you for listening to Transformation with Martine. Did listening today spark a sense of hope and possibility? Hold on to this feeling and tune in every second and fourth Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific for more inspiring conversations with Martine and her guests. They will show you there is hope, and you are right where you need to be. Martine is dedicated to supporting you right where you are, while launching you towards promise, passion, and possibility that leads to the fulfilled life your heart aches for. If you're tired of being stuck, schedule a complimentary consultation with Martine and get on the exciting path towards the life you want to be living. Visit martineemmons.com and make your appointment today.